Captain Jessica Morgan stood at the bridge's observation window, her calloused fingers wrapped around a steaming cup of coffee. Real coffee, not the synthesized stuff most ships carried. 20 years of deep space experience had taught her to savor the small luxuries. The Nova Horizon cruised through the void at half-light speed, its massive engines humming with the distinctive resonance that had lulled generations of space travelers to sleep. "Captain," Lieutenant Rivera's voice cut through the peaceful moment, tension evident in his usually steady tone. "We're picking up spatial distortions at Mark 347. Energy signatures unlike anything in our database." Morgan didn't immediately respond. She took another sip of coffee, dark eyes fixed on the starfield ahead. After 3 tours protecting Earth's colonies and another 5 commanding civilian vessels, she'd developed an instinct for trouble. This felt like trouble. "Show me," she ordered, turning to face the bridge's holographic display. The image materialized before her, a tear in space itself, bleeding impossible colors that shouldn't exist in normal spacetime. The crew watched, transfixed, as something emerged from the rift. A ship that defied human architectural understanding. Its hull seemed to be composed of living crystal, pulsing with internal light that shifted through spectrums beyond human perception. "Size comparison?" Morgan asked, maintaining her calm even as her free hand unconsciously moved to the command console's security panel. "They're big, Captain. About 3 times our length, roughly 5 times our mass." Rivera's fingers danced across his console. "Their energy output is off the charts. Whatever tech they're running, it makes our antimatter drives look like steam engines." The alien vessel positioned itself directly in their path, its crystalline structure refracting starlight in ways that made it seem both beautiful and predatory. Like a spider's web catching morning dew, Morgan thought. Beautiful, but deadly. "Incoming transmission," Communications Officer Taylor announced. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies. Universal Translator is having trouble, but it's adapting." The bridge speakers crackled to life with a voice that sounded like breaking glass being run through a synthesizer. "Attention, primitive vessel. You have entered space claimed by the Galactic Confederation. Your technology level indicates a species attempting their first interstellar journey." "How quaint." Morgan raised an eyebrow at the condescension in the alien's tone. She set her coffee down carefully, using the moment to assess her options. The Nova Horizon was officially a colony ship, carrying 2,000 settlers and enough supplies to establish a new home on Proxima Centauri V. Unofficially, well, humanity had learned long ago not to send their people into space without teeth. Your vessel and its contents are now subject to standard developmental civilization protocols, the alien voice continued. A ransom of 70% of your carried resources will guarantee your safe passage. Resist, and we will be forced to demonstrate the futility of primitive human weapons against Confederation technology. Morgan caught Rivera trying to hide a smile. Taylor was biting her lip to keep from laughing. Even the usually stoic navigation officer Chen was shaking his head in amusement. "Security status?" Morgan asked quietly. "All systems nominal, Captain," Rivera replied. "Old Glory is running silent but combat ready. Marine contingent reports ready status, and all defensive systems are on standby. They haven't scanned past our outer hull plating. Looks like their arrogance is working in our favor." Morgan nodded, straightening her uniform jacket as she stepped toward the communications array. These aliens, for all their advanced technology, had made 3 critical mistakes. First, they'd assumed humanity was making its first journey into deep space. Second, they'd revealed their intentions immediately, giving up any tactical advantage surprise might have offered. And third, most importantly, they'd threatened her crew. "Open a channel," she ordered, her voice carrying the weight of centuries of human military tradition. "Let's educate our new friends about making assumptions." The galaxy was about to learn an important lesson. Humans didn't survive and thrive on Earth by being helpless, and they certainly didn't venture into space unprepared. "Permission to demonstrate our technological deficiencies, Captain." Rivera asked, his fingers hovering over the tactical interface. Behind his professional demeanor, Morgan could see the gleam in his eyes, the same look every human spacewalker got when someone underestimated Earth's children. Not yet, Lieutenant. Let's give them the full show. Morgan turned to her command chair, pressing her palm against the biometric scanner. Old Glory, initiate Protocol Theta. Authorization Morgan 77 Zulu Tango. The ship's AI responded in its characteristic Mississippi drawl, a touch of humor in its synthetic voice. Well now, Captain, are we about to show these folks why humans always pack extra? Throughout the Nova Horizon, subtle changes began rippling through its systems. Colonists in their quarters felt the slight vibration as hidden compartments unlocked. In the hydroponics bays, supposedly civilian botanists reached for lockers that contained not fertilizer, but combat armor. The ship's agricultural drones broke formation, their friendly green running lights shifting to combat red. Hull transformation beginning, Old Glory announced. Might want to give our guests a proper view of the dance, Captain. Morgan nodded. External lights at full. Let them see what they're dealing with. The Nova Horizon's outer hull, designed to appear as simple thermal plating, began to shift. Panels rotated, revealing the distinctive black chrome gleam of point defense turrets. Solar collection arrays split apart, exposing rows of missile tubes that had been disguised as power management systems. The bridge windows, previously transparent, polarized and hardened as combat-grade barriers slid into place. "Ma'am," Taylor called out. "They're scanning us again. More detailed this time. Their energy signatures are spiking. I think we've got their attention. Confederation vessel is attempting to transmit," Rivera added. Their tone seems different. Morgan allowed herself a small smile. "Put them through." The alien commander's voice had lost its earlier condescension, replaced by something closer to confusion. "Human vessel, our scans must be malfunctioning. Your ship's configuration has changed. Explain immediately." "Security protocols complete," Old Glory reported. "All systems show green. Combat AI subroutines active and running hot. Sergeant Thompson reports the gardening club is suited up and ready for visitors." In the ship's main cargo hold, now transformed into a marine staging area, Sergeant Jack Thompson and his team performed final checks on their powered armor. The suits, marketed to the Confederation's sensors as environmental work gear, hummed with enough firepower to level a small city. "Let's clear up some misconceptions," Morgan broadcast to the alien vessel. "The Nova Horizon isn't making humanity's first journey to the stars. We're not even close to being your first contact with Earth. We're simply the first human ship that's let you get close enough to try this particular brand of stupidity." She gestured to Rivera, who brought up the tactical display. The hologram showed the Confederation vessel, now surrounded by targeting solutions that Old Glory had been calculating since their first appearance. "Would you like to know what else your scans missed?" Morgan continued. "Those primitive engines you detected. That's what we wanted you to see. The quantum-sealed compartments running along our spine. Those house our actual drive systems. The 2,000 helpless colonists aboard. Every one of them has mandatory combat training. It's part of our colonization protocols." Taylor's console lit up with new alerts. "Captain, they're powering up weapons." "Cute," Morgan replied. "Old Glory, show them what a primitive targeting system can do. Paint their weapon ports, all of them." Precise beams of light from the Nova Horizon's targeting arrays illuminated exact points across the crystalline vessel's hull. Each beam marked a weapon emplacement that the aliens thought was hidden by their advanced cloaking technology. "Impossible," the alien commander sputtered. "Your sensors shouldn't be able to." "Here's a free lesson in human history," Morgan cut in. "We didn't unite our planet through peace and enlightenment. We did it by overcoming every challenge, every threat, every disaster our world could throw at us. Then we looked to the stars and asked, what's next? So before you decide to escalate this situation, ask yourself, what else might this primitive ship be hiding?" The The silence that followed Morgan's revelation stretched across space like a drawn wire. She used the moment to study the crystalline vessel through the tactical display, noting how its earlier confident posture had shifted to something more defensive. The Nova Horizon's sudden transformation had clearly rattled them, but experience told her this was the most dangerous moment, when an overconfident opponent realizes they've made a mistake. "Captain," Rivero whispered, "they're redirecting power to their forward shields, reading multiple weapon signatures charging." Morgan nodded, keeping her expression neutral. "Old Glory, initiate the countdown. Standard 30-second warning protocol." "With pleasure, Captain," the AI responded. A large holographic timer materialized in the space between the two ships, its numbers clearly visible to both vessels. 30 o'clock, 29 to 99. "This is Captain Jessica Morgan of the Nova Horizon," she broadcast, her voice carrying the weight of authority that came from decades of deep space command. "Your vessel has committed multiple violations of the Sol Accords, specifically Article 17 regarding the harassment of human civilian ships. We are a Class 4 rated vessel, operating under full defensive protocols." The alien commander's response came quickly, their earlier smugness replaced by diplomatic caution. "We have no record of these Sol Accords in our database. Your claims hold no." "Your database limitations are not our concern," Morgan cut in. "The Sol Accords were ratified by 17 spacefaring species after the Proxima incident. The fact that you're unfamiliar with them simply means you haven't been operating in this sector long enough to learn the rules." She paused, allowing a slight edge to enter her voice. "Though I suspect that's about to change." 20 o'clock, 19 to 99. On the bridge, Taylor's console lit up with new data. "They're accessing our external historical databases, Captain. Looks like they're finally doing their homework." Morgan allowed herself a grim smile. Every human ship carried detailed historical records, carefully curated to show potential aggressors exactly why threatening Earth's children was a bad idea. The Confederation vessel would be learning about the Battle of Proxima, the Titan Defense Initiative, and exactly why human ships were rated on a classification system that started at Class 1 and went up to Class 5. 15 o'clock, 14 to 99. "Captain Morgan." The alien commander's voice had lost all pretense of superiority. "There seems to have been a misunderstanding. Our scans initially indicated." 10 seconds remaining, Morgan interrupted. "Your options are simple. Withdraw immediately or demonstrate why you believe your vessel can withstand engagement with a Class 4 human ship. I should mention that our classification is based primarily on defensive capabilities. Would you like to guess what offensive systems we might be carrying?" The crystalline vessel's energy signatures fluctuated wildly. Morgan recognized the pattern. They were running their own combat simulations, probably factoring in the new data about human military capabilities they'd just discovered. 5 o'clock, 4 to 99. "This is your final warning," Morgan stated, her tone making it clear she was giving them a gift. "The next time we communicate, it will be through weapons fire. Decide now." 3 o'clock, 2 to 99. Rivera's tactical display lit up with movement indicators. "They're powering up their main drive, Captain." "Looks like they're." The alien commander's response cut through the channel. "Your warning is acknowledged, Nova Horizon. But this interaction has been logged. The Confederation will." 1 second remaining, Morgan interrupted. "Old Glory, target their primary weapon array. Low yield, just enough to make the point." 0 o'clock. A single pulse of energy leaped from the Nova Horizon's smallest point defense turret. It struck the alien vessel's forward weapon port with surgical precision, leaving the small but obvious scorch mark on the crystalline hull. "Next time, try diplomatically requesting identification before making demands," Morgan broadcast. "It tends to work out better for everyone involved. Now, would you like to withdraw, or should I demonstrate what our actual weapon systems can do?" The Confederation vessel's response came in the form of action Rather than words, their engines flared as they began to move away from the Nova Horizons firing arc. Morgan turned to her crew. "Stand by at battle stations. Something tells me they're not done making poor decisions today." The transformation of a human colony ship into a combat vessel was often compared to watching a butterfly emerge from its chrysalis, if butterflies were armed with enough firepower to level a small continent. As the Nova Horizons' final warning expired, Captain Morgan watched the synchronized dance of systems she drilled her crew on countless times. Old Glory, initiate combat protocols. Full spectrum. She turned to her bridge crew. Show them why humans don't believe in unarmed vessels. The AI's response held a note of satisfaction. Beginning combat transformation. Might I suggest Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries for accompaniment, Captain? Not now, Glory, Morgan replied, though she couldn't help smiling. The AI's fascination with classical music during combat had become something of a legend among the crew. Status report. Rivera's hands flew across his tactical station. Outer hull configuration at 70%. All weapon systems online. Point defense grid showing green across the board. He paused, checking another reading. Captain, they're launching something. Multiple signatures, small craft size. Through the armored bridge windows, the Confederation vessel's crystalline surface rippled like disturbed water. Small geometric shapes emerge. Boarding craft, their designs as alien as their mothership. 200 life signs detected across their boarding vessels, Taylor reported. Energy readings suggest personal shield systems and what might be teleportation technology. Morgan nodded. They never learn. Glory, initiate design feature Theta 7. With pleasure, Captain. Deploying the welcome mat. Throughout the Nova Horizon, hidden systems sprang to life. What appeared to be standard hull plating split apart, revealing layers of defense that had been specifically engineered for this type of situation. Quantum-locked fields shimmed into existence, creating zones where teleportation would be suicide. Drone swarms, disguised as maintenance bots, activated their combat protocols. Sergeant Thompson, Morgan called over the internal comm. Your gardening club ready to receive visitors. The Marine's gruff voice came back immediately. Ready and eager, Captain. We've even set up a nice surprise in Airlock 7. Thought we might show them some human hospitality. In the ship's corridors, panels that had appeared to be simple wall decorations slid aside, revealing weapon lockers and emergency armor stations. Every colonist aboard had trained for this. It was part of the standard emigration protocol. Humanity had learned long ago that space held no place for the unprepared. Their boarding craft are on approach, Rivera announced. Targeting solutions locked. Waiting for your order, Captain. Morgan studied the tactical display. The alien vessels moved with precision, but their formation betrayed their inexperience with human opponents. They were clustering too tightly, presenting a perfect target for area denial weapons. Glory, start with Defense Pattern Echo. Let's show them why humans always plan for worst-case scenarios. The AI's response was lost in the symphony of combat that followed. Point defense turrets that had been disguised as sensor arrays opened fire, their coordinated volleys creating a web of energy that caught 3 boarding craft in its first wave. The vessel's crystalline hulls, so beautiful in their alien design, shattered like glass. "Ma'am," Taylor called out. "They're broadcasting again." "Let's hear it." The alien commander's voice had lost all trace of its earlier arrogance. "Human vessel, your defenses exceed expected parameters. We demand." Funny thing about human parameters, Morgan cut in, watching as another wave of defense systems activated. We learned a long time ago to exceed them. She turned to Rivera. Show them what a Class 4 vessel's internal defense grid can do. The Nova Horizons hull lit up with 1,000 points of light, each one a separate defensive system activating. To the approaching boarding craft, it must have looked like the ship was becoming a star. "You know what I love about humans," Old Glory mused as it coordinated the defense networks. "Other species look at a colony ship and seize civilians to protect. We look at a colony ship and think, how many layers of defense can we hide in this thing? Morgan watched as the first wave of boarders approached their effective range. Let's hope they're quick learners. Glory, you can play your Wagner now. Show them why humans always assume the worst, and prepare accordingly. Sergeant Jack Thompson stood in Airlock 7, his powered armor humming with barely contained energy. Around him, the gardening club, 30 Marines disguised as agricultural specialists, checked their weapons one final time. The sound of Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries echoed through the corridor, courtesy of Old Glory's theatrical timing. Remember, folks, Thompson's voice rumbled through the squad comm. These folks thought they were raiding a civilian ship. Let's show them why humans don't do helpless colonist. He checked the charging status of his rifle, a weapon officially registered as agricultural pest control equipment on the ship's manifest. Glory, what's their ETA? First wave attempting breach in 30 seconds, Sergeant. They're using some fancy quantum tunneling tech. Cute, really. Thompson grinned inside his helmet. Initiating surprise party protocol. Club, take your positions. The airlock chamber, which had appeared to be a standard entry point, began to change. Wall panels shifted, revealing automated defense turrets. The floor plates rotated, exposing containment fields designed to trap boarders in killing zones. Even the ceiling transformed, dropping down holographic projectors that could create disorienting battlefield conditions. Contact in 10, Old Glory announced. They're trying to bypass our outer defenses with, oh my, that's adorable. They think their teleporters can get through quantum-locked space. The first attempt at breaching produced a spectacular light show as 3 alien boarders materialized, or tried to. Their bodies reformed in impossible geometries, their crystalline armor shattering as it encountered humanity's counter-teleportation fields. That's why we read the warning labels on quantum physics, Thompson quipped. Glory, how many more incoming? Multiple breach attempts along the hull. They're learning, though. Switching to physical entry methods. Airlock 7 will see action in now. The airlock's outer door buckled as something hit it with tremendous force. Thompson watched the reinforced metals bend, but not break. Exactly as designed. Hold positions, he ordered. Let them think they're making progress. When the door finally gave way, the aliens rushed in with weapons ready, clearly expecting to find panicked colonists. Instead, they found an empty chamber that suddenly became very, very crowded. Welcome aboard. Thompson's voice boomed through external speakers as his squad decloaked, their agricultural armor proving to be top-of-the-line combat suits. Please keep your arms and legs inside the killing zone at all times. The aliens' crystalline armor, impressive against most threats, proved surprisingly vulnerable to weapons specifically designed to shatter molecular bonds. The first wave went down in seconds, their elegant technology no match for humanity's paranoid preparation. Bridge, this is Thompson. First wave contained. They're using standard shock and awe tactics. Apparently nobody told them about the Houston protocols. Captain Morgan's voice came through clear. Good work, Sergeant. Status of the welcome package. Thompson watched as the second wave of boarders approached the airlock. About to deliver it now, Captain. Glory, initiate razzle-dazzle. The AI's laughter filled the comm as the trap was sprung. The seemingly simple airlock chamber transformed into a maze of holographic barriers and very real plasma fields. Alien boarders found themselves separated, disoriented, and exposed to precisely calculated crossfire. You know what I love about humans. Thompson broadcast on all frequencies, making sure the aliens could hear. We look at an airlock and think, how many ways can we turn this into a trap? On his tactical display, Thompson watched as boarding attempts along the hull dropped by 60%. The aliens were learning, but too late to matter. Every access point to the Nova Horizon had been designed with this scenario in mind, each one containing its own unique surprises. Sergeant, one of his Marines called out, they're pulling back. Reading multiple retreat signatures. Thompson nodded inside his helmet. Bridge, Gardening Club reporting. Looks like our visitors didn't appreciate our hospitality. Minimal damage to ship systems, 0 casualties on our side. Well done, Sergeant, Morgan replied. Maintain defensive positions. Something tells me they're about to try something desperate. Roger that, Captain. Thompson turned to his squad. You heard the lady. Lock and load. People. The party's not over yet. Aboard the Confederation vessel Starweaver, First Intelligence Officer Vextal stared at the data streams flooding his crystalline interface with growing horror. What had started as a routine scan of the human vessel's public archives had become a stomach-churning revelation. High Commander, he called out, his crystalline appendages trembling slightly. You need to see this immediately. The ship's commander, still smarting from the humiliation of their failed boarding action, glided over. What have you found, Intelligence Officer? Their history. Vextal manipulated the interface, bringing up file after file. Sir, these humans, they didn't evolve like we did. While the Confederation achieved spaceflight through gradual cooperation and peaceful technological advancement, they clawed their way to the stars. The commander's crystalline form shifted colors, indicating confusion. Explain. Their first major space advancement came during something called the Cold War, a period where their entire species teetered on the edge of self-destruction. They didn't unite through enlightenment. They united because they had to. Vextal brought up more records. Every single advancement in their space technology has a military application, not because they wanted it to, but because they couldn't imagine not preparing for the worst. On his display, images flashed by. The first lunar landing, achieved using rockets originally designed for weapons, space stations that doubled as military observation posts, colony ships with hidden defense systems. Sir, another officer interrupted, we're detecting power fluctuations from the human vessel. They're charging something our sensors can't identify. The commander's color shifted to deep concern. How is that possible? Our scanning technology is the most advanced in known space. Vextal found the answer in the archives. Sir, according to these records, humans have been deliberately leaking false sensor data for centuries. Every time they encounter a new species, they let their ships appear less advanced than they are. They call it the Wooden Horse Protocol, something about their ancient military history. He brought up more recent files. Look at this. The Proxima incident. A human mining vessel, attacked by raiders, transformed into a military platform that destroyed 3 enemy cruisers. The Mars Defense Initiative. They built an entire planetary defense system disguised as a climate control network. Every single human achievement in space has layers of hidden purpose. Impossible, the commander whispered, but the evidence was undeniable. Sir, Vextal continued, his voice dropping lower. Their classification system. We assumed Class 4 meant their technology level. It doesn't. It's their defense rating. And it starts at Class 1. The commander's crystalline form paled. You mean? Yes, sir. We just attempted to raid a vessel that's near the top of their defensive scale. And according to these records, they haven't even shown us their offensive capabilities yet. Another data burst caught his attention. Sir, I'm accessing their colonial deployment records. The Nova Horizon? It's not their 50th colony ship. It's their 500th. They've been establishing settlements across this sector for centuries, hiding their true capabilities behind a facade of minimal technological advancement. The bridge fell silent as this information sank in. Through the main viewport, they could see the Nova Horizon, its seemingly primitive hull now bristling with weapon systems that shouldn't have been possible to hide. Their entire species, Vextal concluded, scrolling through more records, operates on something they call Murphy's Law, the belief that anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So they prepare for everything. Their civilian ships have military-grade defenses. Their colonies have hidden bunkers. Even their children's educational programs include basic combat training. The commander's color shifted to decision purple. Prepare a full withdrawal. We need to report this to the Confederation Council immediately. Sir, Vextall added, studying one final file. According to this, we're not the first to make this mistake. But we might be the first they've let survive to tell about it. As if to emphasize his point, the Nova Horizons hull began to shift again, revealing yet another layer of hidden systems. The message was clear. They hadn't even seen its full capabilities yet. Humans, the commander mused, initiating withdrawal protocols. They don't just prepare for the worst. They expect it. And they make sure they're never the ones unprepared when it arrives. They're powering up their main drive, Rivera reported, his fingers dancing across the tactical display. Looks like they're trying to create another spatial rift for escape. Captain Morgan took a slow sip of her now cold coffee, studying the crystalline vessel's movements. Not yet, they don't. Glory, initiate checkmate protocol. With pleasure, Captain. The AI's Mississippi drawl carried a note of anticipation. Deploying the full chess set. The Nova Horizons transformation wasn't finished. Not by a long shot. What had appeared to be standard colony modules along the ship's spine began to separate, revealing themselves as autonomous combat platforms. Each one had been disguised as a prefab housing unit, but now they showed their true nature. Deployment complete, Glory announced. Queen's Gambit is in position. Morgan allowed herself a predatory smile. Mr. Rivera, target their drive systems. Let's show them why humans always plan 3 moves ahead. The autonomous platforms moved with perfect coordination, taking up positions that effectively boxed in the Confederation vessel. Each platform carried what appeared to be simple construction equipment, until the construction cranes revealed themselves as railguns, and the atmospheric processors transformed into energy weapon arrays. "Ma'am," Taylor called out, "they're broadcasting again. Put them through. Let's hear what they have to say now." The alien commander's voice had lost all trace of its earlier superiority. "Human vessel, we acknowledge our error. The Confederation withdraws all claims and demands. Please allow us to." "Interesting proposal," Morgan cut in. "Glory, show them our counteroffer." The AI activated the final stage of the Nova Horizons combat transformation. The ship's bow, which had appeared to be a simple navigation section, split apart like a blooming flower. The sensor array at its center revealed itself as something else entirely, a weapon that made the alien vessel's energy readings spike in recognition. "That's right," Morgan broadcast. "What you're looking at is a modified version of your own quantum cascade cannon. We recovered one from raiders 3 years ago. Fascinating technology. We've made some improvements." The alien commander's response came quickly. "Impossible. That technology is beyond human engineering capabilities." Morgan finished. "You'd be surprised what we can accomplish when we put our minds to it. Glory, give them a demonstration. Low yield, if you please." A beam of pure quantum energy lanced out from the Nova Horizons bow, striking a point just meters from the alien vessel's hull. Space itself seemed to ripple from the impact. "That was 0.1% power," Morgan informed them. "Would you like to see what full power looks like? Or would you prefer to discuss the terms of your surrender?" On the tactical display, the alien vessel's weapons powered down one by one. We submit to your terms, human vessel." Morgan nodded to Rivera, who began transmitting coordinates. "You'll proceed to these coordinates under our escort. The Colonial Defense Fleet has been notified. They're eager to discuss your violation of protected space." "Defense Fleet." The alien commander's voice carried newfound dread. "There are more vessels like yours." Morgan actually laughed at that. "More like us?" "No, High Commander. We're just a colony ship. Wait until you meet our actual warships." The autonomous platforms tightened their formation around the alien vessel, their weapons maintaining a constant lock. Each platform now displayed the Colonial Defense Force emblem, a stylized Earth surrounded by stars, with the motto "Peace through Preparedness" written below. "Glory," Morgan called out. "Contact the CDF. Let them know we're bringing guests." and inform Sergeant Thompson his gardening club can stand down, though they should stay ready, just in case our friends need another lesson in human hospitality." "Already done, Captain," the eye replied. "Should I continue playing Wagner, or would you prefer something more appropriate for a victory march?" Morgan shook her head, smiling. "Let's save the music for the after-action report. Right now, we have some very confused aliens to escort to the nearest CDF station." She turned to her crew. "Well done, everyone. This is why we drill, and why humans never travel unprepared." 3 days later, Captain Morgan stood in the Colonial Defense Force Station's observation deck, watching as technicians swarmed over the crystalline hull of the Confederation vessel. Beside her, Commander Elena Rodriguez of the CDF battleship Thermopylae whistled softly. "A Class 4 colony ship taking down a Confederation cruiser," Rodriguez mused. "That's going to make one hell of a case study at the Academy." "They weren't ready for us," Morgan replied, sipping from a fresh cup of real coffee. "A gift from the station's commander. Nobody ever is, the first time they meet humans in space." Below them, the alien commander and his senior staff were being escorted to their diplomatic quarters. Their crystalline forms reflected the station's lights, creating rainbow patterns that belied their current situation. "Intelligence finished their preliminary analysis," Rodriguez said, passing over a datapad. "Turns out the Confederation's been expanding unchecked for centuries. Nobody ever fought back effectively. They got complacent." Morgan scrolled through the report, noting the patterns. Classic mistake. They assumed technological superiority meant tactical superiority, forgot that the most dangerous animals are the ones that had to fight to survive. The station's AI chimed in, its voice carrying the crisp accent of its British programming. "The Confederation diplomats are requesting another meeting, Captain Morgan. They seem particularly interested in discussing something they're calling the human paradigm." Morgan smiled. "Let me guess, they want to know why every human ship, even our civilian vessels, is armed to the teeth." Indeed, the AI confirmed. They find it, and I quote, "disturbing yet fascinating." Rodriguez laughed. "Wait until they learn about our actual military vessels. The Nova Horizon's impressive, but she's no Thermopylae." As if on cue, the massive CDF battleship glided past the observation window, its hull bristling with weapon systems that made no attempt to hide their purpose. Unlike civilian vessels, military ships wore their capabilities openly, a clear message to any would-be aggressors. "The Confederation Council is convening an emergency session," Rodriguez continued. "Apparently, discovering that they've been operating in human-protected space without realizing it has caused quite the political stir." Morgan nodded, remembering the alien intelligence officer's face when he learned the truth. They thought they were encountering a primitive species making its first steps into space. Instead, they found out we've been out here for centuries, quietly building colonies and preparing for exactly this type of situation. "Captain," the station's AI interrupted. "The Confederation diplomats have submitted their formal apology and recognition of the Sol Accords. They're also requesting technical advisors." "Technical advisors?" Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. "They want to learn how we integrate defensive capabilities into civilian designs," Morgan explained. "Apparently, the idea of peace through preparedness has made an impression." Below them, more CDF ships were arriving, a show of force that would ensure the Confederation understood the full scope of their mistake. Each vessel represented centuries of human innovation, paranoia, and determination. "You know what the best part is," Morgan said, finishing her coffee. "They still haven't figured out that the Nova Horizon was running at reduced capacity. Some of our best systems never even came online." Rodriguez grinned. "Let's keep that our little secret. After all, humanity's greatest advantage has always been our ability to surprise those who underestimate us." The station's AI chimed again. "Captain Morgan, the Confederation diplomats have one final question. They wish to know if all human civilian vessels are as well equipped as the Nova Horizon." Morgan exchanged a knowing look with Rodriguez before responding. Tell them the truth. The Nova Horizon is just a standard Class 4 colony ship. Then let them worry about what that means. As she watched the alien diplomats receive her message, Morgan reflected on humanity's journey to the stars. They hadn't ventured into space looking for fights, but they'd made damn sure they were ready for them. It was just the human way. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and always have one more surprise in reserve. After all, the galaxy was a big place, and humanity had learned long ago that the best way to ensure peace was to make sure everyone knew the cost of disturbing it.